Discord is testing age verification, so listen up. Vulnerability tracking nearly got defunded. Ubuntu 25.04 was released with tons of updates, and off-the-shelf AI is being used to guess information from your public posts. Really fun week, but not too long, so it's pretty dense. So welcome to Surveillance Report 222, where we are dedicated to keeping you private and secure with the latest news in the past week. I'm Henry from Techlore.
I'm Nathan from The New Oil.
And our sponsor, before we get to the highlight story this week, is EasyOptOuts. We've talked a lot about data removal services. We love the manual method, and if you're going the manual method, there's the big-ass data broker opt-out list. But even that list does recommend some automated services like EasyOptOuts for people who want to have a life and just do other things and not have to worry about removing all their information manually. The cool thing about EasyOptOuts is they're really affordable. It's only $20 a year, which is much better than the typical rates that you'll see online right now. Cancellation is easy, so they give refunds if you're not satisfied in the first 30 days. It's been analyzed by Consumer Reports. They did a whole study showing how effective these data removal services actually are, and EasyOptOuts was pretty much tied for the top spot. They ask for minimal information. You don't have to give any information that isn't publicly available. So some of these services, you just put your information and they just send it to all the data broker sites, even if they don't have it. So they actually go in and do each one by one based on if they have your information. And they just have 2 employees, and we've talked to both of them. They're super chill guys. There's no ads or analytics, and they don't have like third-party contractors that handle your information. Really cool service. Nate and I both migrated to them, and it's what we're both using. Really big fans of what they're doing, and you can check them out down in a description, and they even have business plans if you want to get it as like a business perk for anyone in your company. That's all we have this week.
Hey guys, future Nate here with a quick disclaimer. So as you may have noticed, my audio this week is bad, point blank. This is probably the worst audio I've put out in at least 15 or 20 years. I won't bog the show down with technical explanations, but if you want to know exactly what happened, I've put a link in the show notes. But the short version is that the issue will be resolved in time for next week. Unfortunately, this week could not be salvaged. I am deeply sorry about this. I did the best I could to clean it up. If you have any issues, we do have subtitles, or of course, all the articles are always linked in the show notes. I appreciate you bearing with me this week, and again, things will be back to normal next week.
And without further ado, let's go into the highlight story. So Discord is beginning some tests for facial scans for age verification. This is in the UK and Australia specifically, is where they're at least starting this, and it's to verify age through a facial scan before being permitted to access specifically sensitive content. So the chat app's new process has been described as an experiment and comes in response to laws passed in those specific countries that place guardrails on youth access to online platforms. So if you're in those regions, what you might find is you might be asked to verify your age when encountering content that's been flagged by Discord systems as being sensitive, or when they change their settings to enable access to sensitive content. So it's going to ask you to scan your face through a computer or smartphone webcam, or you can scan a driver's license or other form of ID. Discord has said that, quote, the information shared to power the age verification method is only used for the one-time age verification process and is not stored by Discord or their vendor. For face scan, the solution of our vendor operates on device, which means there is no collection of any biometric information when you scan your face. For ID verification, the scan of your ID is deleted upon verification. So, a lot of thoughts. First off, we've kind of made our thoughts clear about age verification in general. At least on my end, it's something I'm generally against, not because I'm against the idea of it in itself per se, just most of the methods to verify age verification do not respect users' privacy. And there's no way to really guarantee that. You know, we see a lot of promises about scanning upon verification, but we've seen those promises not be real in the past. And there's no way to really authenticate this as well as a user. So really what I'm personally taking a look at is how true are these claims. And if the claims are true, if we're taking these at face value and we really trust these claims, this actually seems pretty solid. Like it operates on device. So theoretically, it's not sending out information. It's something that runs locally. It verifies, and essentially it can just say, yes, this is a user who's over 18. So if that is how it works, I think that's actually pretty impressive. I'd like to actually get that confirmation, and I don't want to take Discord's statement at face value because it's Discord who doesn't have the best reputation for user privacy, but also these age verification systems don't have a good reputation for user privacy, and they've been caught lying in the past about certain claims. So I actually think this might be a step in the right direction, assuming they're telling the truth, and I wish there was a way for us to kind of get more insight into like how a user can verify this. Now, there's a bit more trust required. Again, we're kind of making assumptions on what they're saying. There's a little more trust required for the ID verification because it does say they collect that and they will delete it once it's verified. So there is a little bit more trust you're giving in that one versus the other one they say is completely on device. So really interesting stuff. I'm still kind of, in general, very wary of all age verification until we have some more established technologies that are like guaranteed to be like, no, like we have tons of security experts. They said it's safe. They said it stays on device. I think biometrics in general, like to unlock your phone, are a really good example of that. I think there were some like early on biometrics, like fingerprint scanners back in the day, but a lot of them weren't trusted. A lot of them didn't work in the best way. And then Apple released Touch ID. And then that was kind of our first insight and our first kind of more trusted solution where Apple's like, no, this is all on device. We have a dedicated chip for it. Never leaves your device. We never even get a fingerprint. It's a hash of your fingerprint. And we had security experts like try to tear it down. They were able to say, yeah, it's not as secure as Apple says. We were able to bypass it, but it is true that it does stay on device and Apple can't get access to it. So I'd like to see that kind of rigorous testing for these systems.
I agree with you. I don't have too much to add. Yeah, the first thing that stuck out to me is I agree with you. If we take this at face value, this sounds like a pretty solid method. But at the same time, can we really trust Discord? They don't have the best reputation, and I think that's earned, to be honest. There's also, I think there's a good argument to be made in general, and I don't see this argument happening personally, but maybe it's just the bubble I'm in. Nothing will ever be 100% perfect, right? I don't know about you guys, but I was not a delinquent as a kid. Like, I was really not that crazy. Just in general, I think everybody knows they had that friend that like they know where their dad keeps the keys to the liquor cabinet or something like that. Like there's always ways to work around. So that's kind of my first thought is like, if we're tying age verification to a device or an account, what is to stop somebody from like, I'll verify this so that you can use it? Or like, you know, the parent hands their kid a phone and now the kid can go wherever because the parent's been verified. But then at the same time, this goes back to the point I was trying to make is like, nothing is ever going to be foolproof. So is this the least evil option? Like, is age verification the best we can do, or is there a better solution? And I'm genuinely asking that. I don't think that's a discussion we're having enough. I think everybody's just going like, the internet is dangerous, which, as I've said before, is a very fair statement. And then we're going to, well, let's keep children off the internet. And we're blowing right past what are the harms of this? You know, how are we going to do this safely? Is this even right? Like, that's the question I don't see anybody asking is like, is this even the right solution? And I don't know, maybe there is a better solution, but I think those are kind of my only thoughts is I agree with you that I'm not sure Discord is the one I want. I didn't see it in the article, and granted, maybe I can find it if I dig a little deeper, but I'm curious who their vendor is and who's processing this. Yeah, generally not a fan of this. I understand the sentiment that something should be done, but I'm not sure if this is the right solution. Unfortunately, I don't have any good solutions.
Yeah, I mean, it's still unfolding. Like, there was a really, really long, kind of endless, going in circle at a certain point thread on our forum about like age verification. And I think OP, they had the stance of like, it's going to happen. And the sooner that we as a community say, yeah, this needs to happen, the sooner we can be a part of the discussion of finding solutions that are more privacy respecting, essentially.
Kind of like the whole argument that Proton makes about AI.
Yeah, AI is a perfect example. Like, and same thing with cars. Like we say all the time, like, yeah, we can keep like digging our heads in the sand and going, well, I'm just going to keep buying an old car. But all we're doing is ignoring this modern problem that all cars are privacy nightmares. But the sooner that we draw more attention to that and we actually deal with the new problem, the sooner we'll have better alternatives that are long-term and sustainable. And the same thing with AI. Like, we can keep burying our heads in the sand, but AI is going to keep doing its thing. And if we're not actually like requesting more private AI, or we're not supporting companies that have private AI, then they're just going to lose outright. And I think maybe age verification is the same thing. So that's the argument. I'm mixed on it personally. I'm still trying to like parse how I feel about it. But that's like the argument they made. And then other people are like, no, we should just be completely against all this technology. It's not good. We should just completely be opposed to it. I think it's good and normal for us to like have a healthy amount of skepticism. If you just make up your mind for every difficult issue right away, that's probably not the best thing. I'm really trying to like still figure this out. It's a tough spot to be in. But I do think I overall lean more towards that original poster. I don't think I'm fully there, but I do think that there needs to still be more discussion about what does private age verification look like, and how can we assure users that it is private and it does respect their privacy. If we had more of those questions lined up, then I think more of these companies that are going to build the system anyway would at least consider those questions more often. Interesting stuff to think about. Definitely let us know in the comments what you think. Do you have thoughts?
I think I'm kind of in the same boat in the sense of like, I think this is going to happen either way. It would be nice if we lived in a world where we didn't need things like age verification and we didn't need things and we could just trust people to look after themselves. Bad people by definition won't do things altruistically. So it's like we got to do something. And again, I'm not sure if age verification is the right answer. I'm not sure what the right answer would be. But it's just, I don't know. It's such a gray area. It's hard to put what I'm trying to say into words. Maybe this is necessary. I don't know. Maybe it'll do more harm than good. Maybe it'll do more good than harm. I don't know. But I feel like, yeah, there's not enough discussion about that. I don't like that this is the solution we've settled on and we're just going all in. And I feel like other solutions weren't considered. All right, with that, we'll jump into our data breaches. And we had a few big ones this week. So the first is Hertz, the rental car agency, has confirmed customer information and driver's licenses stolen in a data breach. So they say a very small number of individuals may have had their social security or other government identification numbers, passport information, Medicare or Medicaid ID associated with workers' compensation claims, or injury-related information associated with vehicle accident claims impacted by the event. So this sounds like it may affect employees as well as customers. Otherwise, I'm not sure why Hertz needs your social security and your Medicare and all that, or workers' comp claims. But anyways, Hertz has not shared how many customers were impacted, but Maine's Attorney General reports that 3,409 people in the state are receiving notifications. The notifications were also shared with California and Vermont, which do not report the number of people impacted. Hertz is now offering customers 2 years of free identity monitoring and advising those impacted to be on the lookout for potential fraud.
Insurance firm Lemonade, it says API glitch exposed some driver's license numbers. So between April 2023 and September 2024, the platform transmitted the information unencrypted, which the company says allowed driver's license numbers to be accessed without authorization. And this impacted almost 200,000 users.
Our next data breach comes from Landmark, whose data breach impacts 1.6 million people. They had a data breach in May of 2024. I forget when they reported it. But originally they said that it was just a little bit over 800,000 people were impacted. They are now saying, yeah, 1.6. Landmark is a third-party administrator that handles policy accounting, regulatory reporting, reinsurance for, and IT systems for major insurers nationwide, such as Liberty Bankers Life and American Benefit Life. The data included full name, home address, social security number, tax ID number, driver's license number, state ID card, passport number, financial account information, medical information, date of birth, health insurance policy number, and life and annuity policy information. The exact types of data exposed varies per individual, and Landmark has promised to notify each person with a personalized letter specifying which data was compromised.
I'm just going to compile the last few since we already have quite a few data breaches here. So just going to read off the headlines. And if you are impacted or you want to learn more, you can always check the show notes. So the first one is entertainment services giant Legends International discloses data breach. So it's a global sports and entertainment service, and they had a data breach. So if you are impacted or want to learn more, check it out in the description. GovTech giant Conduit confirms client data was stolen in a January cyber attack. And this is a business service company that provides digital platforms and solutions for government and commercial clients in transportation, healthcare, customer experience, and human resources. Ahold Delhaize has confirmed a data theft after INC ransomware claims attack. And this is a multinational retail and wholesale company that operates nearly 8,000 stores across Europe and the US. Those are all down in a description.
Just to add on to it, that last one, they operate stores like Food Lion, Stop and Shop, Giant Food, and Hannaford. And I know I recognize at least a couple of those. So that'll take us into the companies. And we're going to start with some bad news from Meta, especially if you are European. Meta is resuming their AI training on content shared by Europeans. They announced that they will soon start training their AI models using content shared by adult users on Facebook and Instagram social media platforms. The content includes posts and comments from adult users, as well as questions and queries made when interacting with the company's AI assistant. However, the company says it won't use private messages with friends and family or the public data of Europeans under 18. People in the EU who use the social media giants' platforms will start receiving in-app and email notifications this week to explain the kind of data Meta will begin using. These alerts will also include a link to an online form where they can object to their data being used this way. Meta says the form is easy to find and use and will honor all submitted forms. The announcement comes after Meta delayed training its AI using public content shared on Facebook and Instagram at the request of the Irish Data Protection Commission in June of 2024. The delay was the result of NOIB, an Austrian nonprofit organization working to enforce data protection laws, who filed complaints in 11 European countries, including Ireland. The DPC initially approved the introduction of Meta AI, but reversed this decision following pushback. However, on April 14th, Meta said that the European Data Protection Board had approved this new rollout because the approach meets the European Union's data privacy laws.
Apple has detailed how it plans to improve its AI models by privately analyzing user data. So in the wake of criticism over the underwhelming performance of its AI products, especially in areas like notification summaries, Apple on Monday has detailed how it's trying to improve its AI models by analyzing user data privately with the aid of synthetic data. So they are using differential privacy. It's something we've talked about before, and the company said it would first generate synthetic data and then poll users' devices, provided they've opted in to share device analytics with Apple, which we'll touch on soon, with snippets of the generated synthetic data to compare how accurate its models are and subsequently improve them. The company said these embeddings are then sent to a small number of user devices that have opted into device analytics, and the devices then compare them with a sample of emails to tell Apple which embeddings are most accurate.
For those who aren't familiar with differential privacy, it was either this week or last week. Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons put out a blog post about differential privacy, and I'm including that in the show notes. So for those of you who want to learn more about this, definitely go read that. We have some good news from Google. Google is adding Android Auto Reboot to block forensic data extractions. So the new auto reboot feature was listed in the latest Google Play Services update, which is version 25.14, under security and privacy. Quote, with this feature, your device automatically restarts if locked for 3 consecutive days. Just for those who don't know, when an Android phone is first started, it enters a before first unlock state, or BFU, where most user data remains encrypted and inaccessible until the device is unlocked for the first time. Once the user unlocks it with their PIN or biometrics, the device enters the after first unlock state, which decrypts the user's data, making it accessible for data extraction or surveillance. Devices seized or stolen are typically already in AFU, so even if the screen is locked, forensic tools can extract at least some user data from them. Google has now introduced this same feature into Android, though the article was talking about how Graphene already has this feature and has for quite some time. Graphene sets it to 18 hours by default. Google has now introduced the same feature into Android, though the reboot isn't set to an aggressive 18-hour interval as Graphene. Instead, the device is rebooted after 72 hours with no options to reduce the time. However, this time frame should still be good enough to block many attacks involving long-term physical access associated with the forensic investigations. To further strengthen physical security, it is recommended to turn off USB data transfer when the device is locked. And then the next one is also Google, so I'll just read that one off. It's kind of short. It says Google suspended 39.2 million malicious advertisers in 2024 thanks to AI. So quoting the article, Google may have finally found an application of large language models that even AI skeptics can get behind. The company just released its 2024 ad safety report, confirming that it used a collection of newly upgraded AI models to scan for bad ads. The result is a huge increase in suspended spammer and scammer accounts with fewer malicious ads in front of your eyeballs. Google says that its efforts in 2024 resulted in 39.2 million US ad accounts being suspended for fraudulent activities. That's over 3 times more than the amount of suspended accounts in 2023, which was only 12.7 million. The factors that trigger a suspension usually include ad network abuse, improper use of personalization data, false medical claims, trademark infringement, or a mix of violations.
LG TV's integrated ads get more personal with tech that analyzes viewer emotions. So they're leveraging an AI model. They're going to show advertisements that are more closely aligned with viewers' personal beliefs and emotions. The company plans to incorporate a partner company's AI tech into its TV software in order to interpret psychological factors impacting a viewer, like personal interests, personality traits, and lifestyle choices. The aim is to show LG WebOS users ads that will emotionally impact them. So Zenapps' platform is the name of it, and it's connected to TVs with Zen Vision. It's supposed to be able to interpret the types of emotions shown in the content someone is watching on TV, partially by using publicly available information about the shows or movie scripts and plot. And let's see, they analyze your behavior, and under this new partnership, they can use that data to use the automatic content recognition software in LG to target users specifically. So not good stuff. And the real goal here is to bring advertisers more in-depth information about TV viewers than just demographic data or even contextual advertising.
Samsung's Android 15 update has been halted. So Samsung began the process of updating millions of smartphones around the world to its latest One UI 7, which is based on Android 15 last week. But that process has now been halted. Over the weekend, as you're hearing this the weekend before, or as we release this, Samsung purged the One UI 7 update from its servers, which indicates that a serious problem has occurred. The company isn't offering any explanations for the pause yet, but reports around the internet suggest there are some bugs problematic enough that it required Samsung to slam on the brakes. The update was destined for the Galaxy S24, Z Fold 6, and Z Flip 6, all of which launched with One UI 6, or Android 14. Samsung promises 7 years of update support like Google, but it takes longer for it to release new operating system versions. Not only does Samsung modify the way Android looks, but it also integrates a raft of Galaxy AI features with Android. It takes time to do that, 7 months and counting since Android 15's release, but it seems Samsung should have spent a little more time testing those devices. So One UI 7 is based on Android 15, which is the latest version of the OS for now. Google is planning to release the first versions of Android 16 in June, which is much earlier than in previous cycles. Samsung is no doubt working to fix the issues and restart the rollout. The statement is vague about its timing. "Quote unquote, shortly" can mean many things. They said, it'll be coming out shortly. When One UI 7 finally arrives on everyone's phones, the experience should be similar to what you get on the S25 lineup. There are a handful of base Android features in the update, but it's mostly a Samsung affair. There's the new AI-infused Now bar, more expansive AI writing tools, camera UI customization, and plenty of interface tweaks.
With that said, we're going to move into research, but psych, because there is no research, so we're going to go into politics. The CVE program for tracking security flaws is about to lose federal funding, and there was already an update to this. You know, I'm not even going to get into it, because there's already an update that like makes the whole previous story somewhat irrelevant. There's actually an organization that does the whole CVE program, which is Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures. On this podcast, when we talk about, oh my God, there was a vulnerability with a high rating, CVE 9.8. Yeah, that's a whole program, and it's used by major companies to disclose vulnerabilities and small projects. Everybody uses this. It was established in 1999, and long story short, as part of the budget cuts happening in the US across the board, their funding was cut. But the update to this, which has already happened by the time we're recording, is that CISA has extended their funding to ensure no lapse in critical CVE services. So the CVE program is invaluable to cyber community and a priority of CISA. And so they executed the option period to extend the contract for another 11 months.
Our next couple of stories are focusing on Hungary and the US. The first story says EU issues US-bound staff with burner phones over spying fears. And the follow-up story says anti-spying phone pouches offered to EU lawmakers for trip to Hungary, which in the second half of that story does cite the first story. So the first story, this comes from Financial Times, I think, which I'm summarizing by way of Slashdot because Financial Times paywalls their stuff. Commissioners and senior officials traveling to the IMF and World Bank spring meetings next week have been given new guidance, according to 4 people familiar with the situation. They said the measures replicate those used on trips to Ukraine and China, where standard IT kit cannot be brought into the countries for fear of Russian or Chinese surveillance. They're worried about the U.S. getting into the commission system, said one of the officials. The treatment of U.S. as a potential security risk highlights how relations have deteriorated since the return of Donald Trump as U.S. president in January. Trump has accused the EU of being set up to screw the U.S., and that was a quote, screw the U.S. At the same time, he has made overtures to Russia, pressured Ukraine to hand over control of its assets by temporarily suspending military aid, and has threatened to withdraw security guarantees from Europe, spurring a continent-wide rearmament effort. The transatlantic alliance is now over, said a 5th U.S. official. Brussels and Washington are locked in sensitive talks in a number of areas where it would suit either side to gather information about the other, and that was a 5th EU official. Officials said the guidance for all staff traveling to the U.S. includes a recommendation that they should turn off phones at the border and place them in special sleeves to protect them from spying if left unattended, aka a Faraday pouch. There's an additional risk with the U.S. where border staff have the right to seize visitors' phones and computers and check their content. Commission officials have been told to ensure their visa is in their diplomatic pouch rather than national ones. And then the one for Hungary says 5 lawmakers from the Parliament's Civil Liberties Committee traveled to Hungary on Monday for a 3-day visit to inspect EU member countries' progress on democracy, the rule of law, and fundamental rights. One lawmaker on the trip confirmed to Politico that the Parliament officials joining the delegation were offered Faraday bags by the Parliament services and were advised to be cautious about using public Wi-Fi networks or charging facilities.
I'm actually going to take the next 2 because the first one's really short, but this is a story on France and how the war on drugs is turbocharging surveillance powers. We covered the story a while back about how France is proposing a new anti-drug trafficking law that includes an encryption backdoor. The encryption backdoor part was dropped, fortunately, but according to the article, there are still other things to be concerned about pertaining to privacy, most notably activation of phones by police and mass surveillance of the internet and telecom traffic. So be sure to read on this if you're French and write to your politicians. We're not out of the clear yet. At least we got rid of the encryption backdoor, but there's other concerning things that are happening there. Check out the show notes, get active, especially if you're French. And if you're not French and you're an American, next one's for you. So judge rules blanket search of cell tower data unconstitutional, and it's kind of actually good news. So a judge in Nevada has ruled that tower dumps, which is the law enforcement practice of grabbing vast troves of private personal data from cell towers, is unconstitutional. The judge also ruled that the cops could, this one time, still use the evidence they obtained through this unconstitutional search. So cell towers record the location of phones near them every 7 seconds. When the cops request a tower dump, they ask a telecom for the numbers and personal information of every single phone connected to a tower during a set time period. And depending on the area, these tower dumps can return tens of thousands of numbers. This ruling is the first time in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit has ruled on the constitutionality of tower dumps, but this isn't the first time a federal judge has weighed in. One in Mississippi came to the same conclusion in February. A few weeks later, the Department of Justice appealed the ruling, and there's a decent chance that one of these cases will wind its way up in the Supreme Court, and that SCOTUS will have to make a ruling about tower dumps. The last time this issue was in front of them, they kicked the can back to the lower courts.
And we're going to end on another piece of positive US news. This one came from Postio, and I think it's actually like a collection of stories. I think we've covered one of these stories maybe in the past, but I think a couple of them slipped under our radar, so that's why I'm including this here. So the headline says 3 US states seek to ban sale of location data. And the relevant part of the article says legislators in the Illinois, California, and Massachusetts have proposed laws that would regulate the collection of location data and ban its sale. The bills in Illinois and Massachusetts would also require that users explicitly consent to the processing of their data. These laws would prevent the use of user interfaces that were designed to influence users' decisions, aka dark patterns. Each of the 3 bills also includes an opt-out provision. The legislation would only permit location data to be processed if it is necessary for a, quote, permissible purpose. For example, to fulfill an order. There are certain exceptions. For instance, in the case of emergencies, users must also be informed that their data is being collected. The bills would classify all location data as sensitive, regardless of a person's proximity to, for example, medical facilities. The definitions in the bills differ in how precisely they define location information. In California, the law specifies an area of 5 miles, while in Massachusetts and Illinois, the protected area is only about 1,800 feet. The draft legislation would also ban the sale, lease, and sharing of location data with third parties. A warrant would be required for government agencies, including law enforcement, seeking to access the data. And the EFF, they quoted a lot of this from an EFF article. The EFF notes that the bills in Illinois and Massachusetts include provisions that would allow individuals to bring civil lawsuits against violators. The provisions set a baseline amount of damages to be paid to plaintiffs in successful suits, and each of the bills was introduced earlier this year and is still making its way through the legislative process. So, actually, real quick, I didn't put it in the show notes, but I do want to acknowledge it because I'm sure people will ask about it. Google lost an antitrust lawsuit this week. The reason we didn't include it is because right now there's really no news other than that. They might be forced to sell, I think Chrome is one of the things that people are talking about, maybe even Android. We really don't know. But they lost. Something will happen. When we have an update and we know what's going to happen, we'll be sure to let you guys know. But right now, there's really no like privacy news about that.
We're going to go into the FOSS category, free and open source. Canonical has released Ubuntu 25.04, which they're calling Plucky Puffin. A summary from Slashdot pretty much just talks about how they're updating to Linux kernel 6.14, GNOME 48 with triple buffering and expanded hardware support. They're also shipping an official generic ARM64 desktop ISO targeting virtual machines and Snapdragon-based devices with initial enablement for the Snapdragon X Elite platform. And there's initial enablement for the Snapdragon X Elite platform. There's some other improvements like their networking improvements, GPU improvements, Wi-Fi support improvements. But if you're interested in Ubuntu, check it out. It will receive 9 months of support until January 2026. And the Linux Experiment has a 20-minute video detailing more changes if you're interested.
Okay, this next one comes from Firefox and is good news. The title says hardening the Firefox front end with content security policies. Once again, we have a blog where the person did not explain who they are, but based on the context of the reading, I'm assuming that they work for Firefox in some capacity. The article does go into very technical detail, so if you're a more technical person who wants to know more, definitely check it out. But the summary, we have rewritten over 600 JavaScript event handlers to mitigate cross-site scripting and other injection attacks on the main Firefox user interface. This mitigation will ship in Firefox 138. However, blocking the execution of scripts in the parent process is not the end. We will expand this technique to other contexts in the near future. There is still more work to do as the UI requires JavaScript APIs with a high level of privileges. However, we still eliminated a whole class of attacks, significantly raising the bar for attackers to exploit Firefox. In fact, we hopefully just broke someone's exploit chain. And then I'll just go ahead and take the last one real quick because it's super short. Tails 6.14.2 has been released. Normally, we don't talk about like point whatever releases, but it says in the notes, this release is an emergency release to fix security vulnerabilities in the Linux kernel and the implementation of the Perl programming language. So if you use Tails, definitely make sure that you update that because there's security fixes.
And now we have the Misfits, and the first one, so the latest viral ChatGPT trend is doing reverse location search from photos. So OpenAI released its newest AI models, O3 and O4 Mini, both of which can uniquely reason through uploaded images. Pretty much, I'm just going to summarize this. This doesn't use EXIF data. So normally we'd say, oh, you can look at the metadata of photos and it reveals, like where the location of the photo, where it was taken, etc. But no, this is just like straight up, just uploading an image and asking ChatGPT where it is. and it'll look through restaurant menus, neighborhood snaps, facades, and self-portraits, and then instructing O3 to imagine it's playing GeoGuessr, which is an online game that challenges players to guess locations from Google Street View images. They've mentioned how this is a doxing concern, it's a potential privacy issue, there's nothing preventing a bad actor from screenshotting like a person's Instagram story and then trying to figure out their location.
And then our last story this week, just kind of a quick keeping you guys in the loop on security evolutions. SSL and TLS certificate lifespans reduced to 47 days by 2029. So the Certificate Authority Browser Forum has voted to significantly reduce the lifespan of SSL TLS certificates over the next 4 years, with a final lifespan of just 47 days starting in 2029. The forum is a group of certificate authorities and software vendors, including browser developers, working together to establish and maintain security standards for digital certificates. Members includes major CAs like DigiCert and GlobalSign, as well as browser vendors like Google, Apple, Mozilla, and Microsoft. The goal is to minimize risks from outdated certificate data, deprecated cryptographic algorithms, and prolonged exposure to compromised credentials. It also encourages companies and developers to utilize automation to renew and rotate TLS, making it less likely the sites will be running on expired certificates.
And that wraps it up for the week. So again, Discord is testing age verification, vulnerability tracking nearly got defunded, Ubuntu 25.04 was released with tons of updates, and off-the-shelf AI is being used to guess information from public posts. I want to pivot over to Nate to also talk about EasyOptOuts before we give you the final outro.
Yeah, so we are very grateful to EasyOptOuts for sponsoring this podcast. EasyOptOuts is a data removal service, in case you missed the first pitch at the beginning of the episode. So they'll go online, they'll find all those common people search websites like, White Pages and Spokeo, and they will request your data being taken down. There are a lot of services out there that do this, but EasyOptOuts is by far the most affordable. They're only $20 a year. Both Consumer Reports and Privacy Guides have done research on their efficacy, and you can check both of their blogs and see what their exact methodology was, but they both found them almost as effective as doing it by hand. If you want to do it by hand, of course you can. We're not against that at all, but it is very arduous, and if nothing else, you can use EasyOptOuts as kind of to get the low-hanging fruit and get all the easy stuff out of the way, so it makes it a little bit lighter of a lift on you. Cancellation is easy if you're not satisfied. They do offer refunds. They ask for very minimal information. You don't have to give them any information that's not already on these search websites. They're just trying to make sure they find the right listing and get it taken down. There are only 2 employees, so they're not sharing your data with a lot of employees or third-party contractors. There's no ads or analytics on their website. Removal requests are only submitted if they actually find your data. So like Henry said at the top, some websites will just blast out your information to everybody and be like, hey, if you have this, take it down. And then, well, if they didn't have your data, now they do. So EasyOptOuts is like, no, let's make sure they have your data, and then we'll tell them to take it down. So no need to give them data they don't have. They are always adding new sites over time, and they do have business plans. So if you're a business owner or you have some say at a business and you're looking to offer a perk to your employees, definitely check that out, and they'll work with you. They're really cool guys.
And that is it, just the final things. We want to thank you all for listening. We record these every week, and it takes a lot of time. Sometimes we have to reschedule. Our default recording time is Friday night, and then today it was Saturday morning, so we're recording on Saturday. And it just takes a lot of time and effort to get you all the news every week. And so we want to go ahead and thank you all for tuning in. That's already a huge help. Just seeing the numbers and seeing you all be a part of this is massively important to us. Otherwise, we would just be speaking into the void. If you want to be more engaged with things, again, the stories are found in the show notes, so you can check out the website down there. If you want to send us stories, we do get your emails at news@surveillancereport.tech. And the final thing we want to ask is for you to share the podcast around with friends and family. Make sure you're subscribed, keep up with what we're doing, give us a rating if you're listening on a platform where you can do that, like on Apple or Spotify. It helps a lot to just make our show look a little more legit and get more people on it, and hopefully help even a little bit in the algorithm so we can reach more people with the message of privacy. So thank you all, and we'll see you again next week. And as a final reminder, we still have our Patreon, and you still do get perks, and you can join our Q&A, and you can get the ad-free versions of these episodes if you join through Patreon. So thank you all, and we'll see you next week.